All right, my return trip from Amsterdam. My wife there was a few years when my wife had this thing, she wanted to travel around. So she schlepped me to Amsterdam. What's in Amsterdam? There's a museum of Van Gogh. Van Gogh Museum. So, I sort of like pictures and things like that. I like drawings, and, I was a little bit, a connoisseur of the, in the weakest sense of the word. But nevertheless, so, okay, I figured, okay, good, I'll go. Not only that, I also want to have, peace at home. My wife wants to go, so I have to go. So she schleps me along, and I have to go to these places. It's not that I have to go. I had to go. I had to also enjoy it. Enjoying it. You enjoy it? Oh, enjoying it. I was enjoying it. I've never enjoyed such a thing in my life. I'm so enjoying. This is enjoyment. Really, I did not enjoy it at all. But so we went, and we saw Van Gogh, and we saw this, and they tried to sell us marijuana on the streets like 50 times in the era there. Okay, so we left. We're on the way back. Oh, now I'm starting to enjoy it. What do we enjoy? It was a daytime flight, and I took out my tefillin, and I went down the aisle and asked people if they're Jewish, if they want to put on tefillin. So it was a little bit noisy. The plane was a little bit noisy. It's not a long flight from it's 4 hours, something like that. It was a daytime flight. So I go down and I asked people, are they Jewish? So some people said that they're not Jewish, and some people said they are. They didn't want to put on. The Israelis, they didn't want to put on. And a couple of people put on. And then, okay, so I suddenly realized that it's not hard. Usually you have to ask people if they're Jewish, but the people from Amsterdam, you don't really have to ask so much. It's pretty evident that the people from Holland, they were sort of motionless, They were sort of motionless. I don't want to say anything bad, but it was like their shoes, like wood. They were just sitting there. Once in a while, they would read something, and they were just sitting there. And the Israelis, they never stopped moving. Even when they were sleeping, they're always moving around, and they're always talking and saying something. And so anything that moved, I just zeroed in on anything that moved. So there's 3 fellows sitting, obvious Israeli products of Amsterdam. Each one has an earring, 1 or 2, and they get progressively worse. You ever see these pictures of the ape, and then there's the Cro-Magnon man, and there's the Piltdown man, or whatever it is, and then finally there's the the businessman with his briefcase, and that's evolution. So here it was devolution. Here the first guy that was closest to the aisle, he had 2 earrings, and he had a little tattoo on his neck or something like that, and his hair was a little spot of it was dyed like pink, a little spot. The guy sitting next to him, he already had like an earring in his nose as well. And he had more tattoos, a few more. And his hair was dyed like, blue, something like that. And the third guy, he was like, he looked like, a chafetz chashud, they say, a suspicious object. He had piercings everywhere you could put a piercing. He had a piercing in his eyebrows. Who knows what's under his shirt? I didn't want to ask. On his eyebrows and on his ears and on his this and on his that and his tongue, and one on his tongue, one on his lip, and one on this. And he had tattoos galore. Oh, and his hair was dyed like 3 different colors. And he had this mohawk sort of hairdo. So I figured these guys are Israelis. So I asked the first guy, I want to put on tefillin, and he looked at me like I'm offering him a dead cat or something. And the second guy asked him if he wanted. He was reading a paper or something. I asked him if he wanted to put on tefillin, and like I said, the plane was a little bit noisy, so I had to sort of bend over. I asked him if he wanted to put on tefillin, and he just went like this. He went. He went to sleep. He pretended he was asleep. Anyway, so I asked the third guy, right? The how do you say the multicolored man, want to put on tefillin? So he said, what? Because it was noisy in the plane. What? So the first guy, I can tell he's just about to say, will you get out of here? And the second guy, he's like asleep. And this third guy said, want to put on tefillin? I said, what? I said, tefillin. Want to put on tefillin? And he said, tefillin? Sure. Can. So the first guy, he's like, he took the paper and he looked inside of it. The second guy, he was sleeping, he opened up one eye. He was looking to see. And the third guy, he put on tefillin. He stood up. It was under I said, you don't have to come out. It was under this. You can even put it on sitting down. Now, meanwhile, this whole thing caught the eye of one person that was sitting in front of us. There was two people sitting in front of us. They were sitting like on the seat, which was before the escape. So they had a little room in front of them. So there's three people. Three, obviously, non-Jews. They were sitting there like statues. And there was a woman and a man in the middle. So the guy in the middle, I saw he was sort of like turning around and looking to see what was happening, So I caught his eye and I said, in English, interesting. He said, yes. I said, I'll explain it to you in a minute. So I finished with this guy and I came around to these people and I said, this is tefillin, it's for Jewish people. And it's a commandment. And it's a commandment. He's saying, oh, yes, yes. I said, you understand? He says, yes, yes, I understand. I said, what's your name? He said, his name is Lars or something, Lars or Hans or something like that. And I said, my name is Tovia. We shook hands. And I said, these are, the commandments. God gave us the commandments. And Mount Sinai, Jews have been doing this for over 3,000 years, and it's to show that God is not just up in heaven. He's also here in the world. He also cares. And so I said, inside are written parchments. You know what's written? All of a sudden, I got this inspiration. What's written in the parchments is that, listen, Jews, God is one. I said, you know what it means that God is one? So he said, no, I don't know what it means. I said, God is one. It means that there's nothing except for God. God is creating everything, and he's creating you also. I said, you know why he's creating you? He said, I don't know. I don't know. I said, God is creating you, said, for free, from love, for free. So maybe you should do something for him for free. So he said, yeah. I said, well, there's 7 Noahide commandments. And I explained to him a little bit, don't kill, don't steal, don't do sexual deviations, don't worship other gods, don't. So he listened. All of a sudden, he stands up. Guy stands up. I didn't know he was going to stand up. He was going to hit me. I didn't know what he was going to. And he straightens his tie, and he yells out. He said, "This rabbi is correct, and what he says is true. And I want to apologize to him for what our people have done to his people." He says, we took a man and we said he's God, and we tried to negate the holy commandments. He screams out. Like I say, that the plane was a bit noisy, right? It was a bit noisy. So only like maybe 3 rows behind him and maybe 2 rows on the front, because there was this big space, and a couple of people on the side. So they looked at him, everyone looked at him, and he shook my hand, straightened his tie, and just sat back down and resumed his sort of, statue mode. So I thought to myself, this really, it was amazing. I mean, this man, listen, I don't know. It seemed to me it was genuine. Maybe every day at 2:00 he does the same thing, stands up and screams, but I don't think so. It was genuine. It had a genuine effect on this person just doing the truth. And in the end, these people, they put on tefillin, which was not particularly a glorious or emotional religious experience, and they started dancing or something like that. But it impressed them the truth of the matter. And so it is with us, and that's what's going to happen with Mashiach. Mashiach, when the Jews do what they're supposed to do, it'll automatically tell the world that there are things that everyone is supposed to do, and that God really cares, and that this world is good. And that will reveal Mashiach now. Have a good day with Mashiach now. God willing, Friday, tomorrow, we will learn at 8:15. Shalom uvracha.